Hello, I'm David Chester with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This week, get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock. With news, there is a sudden fall-off in the growth of airfreight volumes. But first, American pending home sales data for contracts to buy previously owned homes fell in July for the 7th straight month. A lack of supply in the market is the reason given by the industry, and the fall-off in volumes is particularly noticeable in the West. Separate data shows home prices rising at the rate of 6.3% in an affordability challenge that may be impacting these sales volumes. The second revision to the second quarter American GDP growth data has been released, confirming it was the best growth since the third quarter of 2014, with the annual growth up marginally to 2.9% per annum compared with the annual growth rate of second quarter 2017. The same data shows that US corporate profits rose at 16% as a result of the large tax cuts and expanding economy. This data has been pushed the S&P 500 up by 0.5% today. And Canada has now joined the NAFTA negotiations and claims a deal can be reached by the end of the week. They already have an agreement on car manufacturing. Dairy trade seems to be the current sticking point, and the Canadians are expected to concede that one, a bargaining chip they've been holding back until this moment. In emerging markets, pressures seem to have escalated in the past 24 hours. The Turkish currency is taking a new hit, and the Argentine bond risk premiums have suddenly blown out. Both stem from investors losing faith in the local governments controlling the pressures facing them. All these trade pressures are strangling the growth of international air freight. It was up only 1.9% in July, the slowest annual growth rate since May 2016. In the huge Asia-Pacific region, the growth was only 0.5% as the momentum leaks away fast. In Australia, Westpac is coming under severe margin pressure, which has forced it to raise mortgage rates suddenly. It is raising its variable rate by 14 basis points to 5.38%, and it's the first of the big banks to do that, although most of the smaller ones have already moved higher following the same pressures. The increase applies to all its customers, both new and existing. The pressure on Westpac is somewhat unusual, but the other three banks are expected to follow at some point. US Treasury 10-year yield is unchanged at 2.88% today, and the 210 curve is now at 20 basis points. The Aussie government 10-year is at 2.55%, that's down 1 basis point. The China government 10-year is at 3.63%, down 2 basis points, while the New Zealand government 10-year is at 2.64%, that's up 1 basis point. Gold is unchanged today at just on $1,205 an ounce in New York. And US oil prices are much firmer today, now just over $69.50 a barrel, while the Brent benchmark is just under $77.50 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar is softer at 67.1 US cents. On the cross rates, however, we're firmer at 91.9 Aussie cents, which is as high as it's been in a month, and we're at 57.3 euro cents. That leaves the TWI at 70.7 and still at its average over the past month. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.